Good morning. I still remember the first time I heard it. I couldn't have been more than 10 at the time. The Sunday school teacher was leading her usual boring lesson. Sorry, Sunday school teachers, but I was a tough kid to impress. But she said something that made me snap out of my daydream and suddenly shout, "Really?" She said this, "You shall know a Christian by their smile." Shouted, "Really?" She nodded her head. "You shall know a Christian by their smile." It wasn't even up for discussion. It was so obvious, so true. And I knew at that point that I was lost. To smile all the time sounded exhausting, and I didn't have that in me. Think about the sheer amount of dental regimen you'd have to take on to make that smile inoffensive, to be constantly smiling. And the cheek muscles constantly pressed up. I started wondering if Christians had to smile at home even when no one was watching. I would get tired. And then I started making up scenarios in my head. Say you're in a foreign land, and somebody rushes up on you in a panic, and you smile at them, of course. And they tell you, the United States has been obliterated, and everyone you know is gone. And you smile, of course, because you're a Christian. And then they ask, "Are you okay? You got this creepy smile on your face." And you say, "No, I'm okay. I'm smiling because I'm a Christian." That's what Christians do. To this day, I still wonder if that smiling message was part of the lesson plan or if she was just winging it. But that is not the only time I've heard this message. A message that links together happiness and Christianity. Happiness and good faith. It's the idea that if you have faith enough, you will be happy. That life will be one giant pleasure palace where all your desires and needs will be met before you can even ask for them. Theories like this that tie together happiness and Christianity, I think, are part of the reason why people that are going through a hard time but are faithful at that time have a hard time understanding why that's happening to them. Or people that have good faith and say good, solid prayers, but find that God seems to not answer those prayers. I think that's part of the reason why people have so much trouble in those moments. The thought is that God promised us we would be happy. But God promised us blessing, that we'd be blessed. And that's not the same thing as happiness. Hear the list again from our gospel reading and think about how many of these blessings you actually want. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. And then here comes my favorite part. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. It's hard to say that last part with a straight face. Rejoice and be glad, you who mourn, you who are meek, you who are confounded by evil, you who are mocked by others, for you are blessed by God. This reminds me of the phrase I hear all the time. With friends like this, who needs enemies? It makes you start to wonder, do you really want God's blessing? In a book called Enemies of Promise, Cyril Connolly writes, "Those whom the gods wish to destroy, they first call promising. And then people have to live up to that bit of promise, that bit of potential." In Christianity, it would make more sense to say, those whom God wishes to confuse, God calls them blessed. And then people have to live up to the expectation of that, to what the world would consider blessed, to what we would feel as blessing, or what we would feel as a curse. But the honest truth of the matter is that it's hard to build a religion that's based on a man who died on a cross around happiness. We may say Good Friday, but when Jesus was going through that, when he was on the cross, do you really think he said, hey, this is a pretty good Friday? No. Happy Friday, it was not. But Sunday did come. The sun did rise again, the tomb was empty. Those that this world mockingly called blessed saw the real blessing of tomorrow. The real blessing of a God with real power. The real blessing of eternal blessings that put to shame the daily blessings that we lack. Hear the Beatitudes again, as intended. Eternal blessings versus earthly happiness. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. We know the reality of life. It ends in death. You're not going to cheat that. There is no blessing that can come your way that will cheat that. Jesus tried to give Lazarus that blessing. It's going to happen a couple times. Jesus tried to give Lazarus that blessing, but what happened to Lazarus? He passed away again. He's not still running around. But those who mourn will be blessed, for they will eventually see their loved ones again. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. The world rewards the forceful, the authoritative, the mighty manager that holds the world in the palm of their hands. But empires were made to crumble. We learned fairly quickly that we want to be the king of the mountain. We want to take over the mountain. But what we really learned is that the top of the mountain is pretty much the same as the bottom. This is what the meek understand. Blessed are they, for they can see the future. They can see the faulty nature of temporary gains. Blessed are those who hunger for righteousness, for they will be filled. I think I'm getting to the other side. A friend of mine's mother was never angry. Never once in her life was she angry. She was righteously indignant. Which meant that those that she was angry at had it coming. And God would take care of it. But we have seen the dangers of our justice system. The wrong people condemned. Those who can't afford legal counsel or those with particular backgrounds find themselves in prison far more than anyone else. Justice delayed by handing it off to God is not justice denied, but it is instead justice personified. For those that get caught up in the justice that they deserve for how they were wrong, that consumes their life. Lack of forgiveness is a burden for both parties. Blessedness comes to those that know that God's justice will come. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. You know what real mercy is? Weakness. That's what the world says. That's especially what movies say. If you ever watch a movie and somebody does something merciful in the beginning of a movie, watch out. Because it's going to come back and bite them later. That person that they didn't kill early on comes back and kills them. It's pretty much automatic. It happens. That's what movies tell us about mercy. At the end of the movie Unforgiven, Gene Hackman is laying on the ground. He's been defeated by Clint Eastwood, because Clint Eastwood always wins. And Gene Hackman says, "I don't deserve this." And Clint Eastwood gravelly spits out, "We all have it coming." Why will the merciful receive mercy? They're merciful. Why do they need mercy? Because we all have it coming. One day we will all eventually require mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. We spend our entire lives hardening our hearts. We've gotten very good at it. We tried this thing, and it failed. Never going to do that again. We gave this person our time. They tricked us. Never going to do that again. We loved and lost. It hurts too much. I'm going to protect myself. I trusted my prayer to God, and it went nowhere. Better I should shut down. To harden our hearts, to close ourselves off, is safer. And that's to miss out on the face of God that's scattered across creation. It is easier to shield yourself, to close yourself off, to pretend that you can be affected by nothing, but then you do not get to see the face of God present in your neighbor, present in those you let in. The world is perilous. But if you allow yourself to have a heart of flesh and blood and not a heart of stone, you will see this God of love. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Children of which God exactly, we would ask? If we think about the Old Testament, that God was not exactly a peacemaker. Not in the traditional sense. And when we think about what certain theologians and believers try to do, saying that God would be behind a particular war, makes this question even more murky. But like the meek, who realize that the bottom of the mountain is the same as the top, the peacemakers realize that being wrong is just as good as being right. I want you to think about something for a second. You all have one of these. An argument that's gone on for so long that you had with somebody, and you don't even remember what the original argument was about. You just know you're right, and they are wrong. Well, let's say somehow in the future, God comes down and says, hey, guess what? You are right. What have you gained? Let's say God comes down and you lose. God says you're wrong. What have you lost? All victories are hollow if we forget we are family, that we are children of God living in this world together. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. We want to be popular. We want people to like us. We want to tell people what they want to hear. Have enough faith, you'll get some money. Have enough faith, God will make you pretty. Have enough faith, God will make you happy always. But the problem, Christianity is kind of offensive. Jesus has unrealistic expectations and expects us to live up to those expectations. And the church is called to present this unrealistic gospel and help you find those places where you might try to overcome yourself and do something beyond what the world expects. Those that are persecuted for righteousness' sake will inherit the kingdom of heaven because they are building the kingdom. Each time we push ourselves past what the world expects and move into where God is calling, we add another brick to our inheritance, that kingdom of God. And lastly, blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. I think there's a bit of misunderstanding around this one. This is not a goal. Don't shoot for people reviling you. Don't try to get people to hate you. That's not the message. Some have taken it that way, but that is not this message. The idea is that you go out and you try to break through to people and nothing happens and you fail. You feel that you failed. You haven't. You are still blessed. Where you think you are alone, you know that you have God at your side. That's the point of all this, of all of these blessings. We build our standards around the world's standards. If I'm happy, God is with me. If my church has every seat filled, God is with us. If my bank account is increasing, God is with me. But if I'm not happy, or I'm not rich, or my church is struggling, where is God? Right beside you. You're blessed, especially when you don't feel it. You are blessed, especially when the world says you are not. You are blessed from the highest joy to the deepest grief, because we believe in a real God that lived as one of us, that hurt as one of us, that knows what kind of blessings are built to last. You'll know a Christian by their smile? Maybe. But you will definitely know a Christian as they persevere through their frown. Amen.